สวัสดีครับท่านผู้ชมทุกท่านก่อนจะเริ่มคลิปก็จะขอบอกไว้ก่อนนะครับว่าพอดแคสต์นี้เป็นภาษาอังกฤษนะครับและสำหรับท่านผู้ชมที่รับชมผ่านทาง YouTube วันนี้เราก็จะมีคำศัพท์มากมายมาให้ทุกท่านด้วยนะครับถ้าพร้อมแล้วก็ไปเริ่มกันเลย In the rugged wilderness of Southern America, a group of soldiers is pursuing a wounded man. Despite the blood that poured from his body, he pushed his limits and sprinted through the terrain. Exhausted and concerned, his escape came to a tragic halt at a dead end. In the final moment, a general arrives with a company of soldiers, ordering the man to surrender. However, in the finale of his life, he releases his sword and defiantly shouts, "I die with my homeland." The man's body slowly falls after the sound of a gunshot, which echoes through the forest, signifying the end of the largest war of this new continent. It marks the beginning of a new chapter for our nation that will endure a prolonged suffering due to the foolish decisions of its leader. Welcome, dear viewers, to the Call of the Past podcast. In this first episode, we delve into the Paraguayan War. The man being chased by the military forces is none other than President Francisco Solano López, dictator who ruled Paraguay from 1862 to 1870. In these 8 years, he would transform his country irreversibly. First and foremost, let's start by understanding the context of the South American continent at that time. In the early 19th century, countries in South America began declaring independence from colonial powers, fueled by the Napoleonic Wars that weakened the Spanish and Portuguese empires. However, the division of borders among these newly independent nations led to numerous conflicts and disputes. Notable wars included the Argentine-Brazilian War of 1820, the Peruvian-Bolivian War, and skirmishes that continued to exacerbate tensions. But none rivaled the scale of the War of Triple Alliance. This war, which occurred in 1864, involved Paraguay declaring war against its three neighboring allied nations, Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. However, if we look closely, Paraguay's population was significantly smaller than its adversaries, with only 500,000 inhabitants compared to Brazil's 9 million and Argentina's 1.9 million. What makes Paraguay bold enough to declare war with this triple alliance? The answer for this question is no other than President López's obsession with making Paraguay a dominant power in the region, just like his idol Napoleon, who once dominated Europe. Despite Paraguay's relative weakness, López proceeded to increase funding of the military to fully support the country's armed force. This resulted in Paraguay having even more soldiers at the time than Brazil and Argentina. At present, the only thing that stops it from being a powerful nation is reasons to declare wars for territorial expansion. This war momentum is rapidly building. The catalyst for this impending conflict is the civil war brewing in Uruguay. During that time, Uruguay was divided into two factions. The liberal faction, led by Colorado, aligned itself with Argentina and Brazil, while the other faction was the conservative party, led by Blanco, which felt besieged from all sides. They sought assistance from Paraguay, which at that point had no allies. The Paraguayan government saw an opportunity. If they could help overthrow the Colorado faction, they could secure a vital ally in Uruguay, capable of balancing the power of both Brazil and Argentina. Moreover, President López was confident in the military capabilities crafted by his leadership. This emboldened Paraguay to launch an attack and seize diamond and gold mines in the state of Mato Grosso, located in the central region. This event took place on April 1st, 1864, marking the beginning of the Paraguayan War. The Brazilian forces would take another year to reclaim these territories, a lengthy endeavor due to the extensive distance they had to cover. They had to travel approximately 1,900 kilometers from the then capital city of Rio de Janeiro to reach the state of Mato Grosso. This distance is even longer than the journey from Chiang Mai to Beton. This would be just a brief period when Paraguay assumed an offensive stance in the war, as subsequent significant events unfolded. Firstly, the Colorado Party managed to defeat the Blanco Party, Paraguay's sole ally at the time, and completely neutralize Uruguay, turning it against Paraguay. This marked a turning point as Paraguay shifted from an offensive to a defensive position. Furthermore, Paraguay declared war on Argentina after allowing their enemies, Brazil and Uruguay, to use the Paraná River for transportation and weapons. This marked the beginnings of the Triple Alliance, consisting of Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina. Moreover, shortly afterward, Paraguay suffered defeats in water battles against the Brazilian Navy. This hindered their ability to transport supplies and weapons, making the situation even more challenging. Although Paraguay had a sizable army, their lack of resources and weaponry became apparent. They were unable to withstand the combined forces of the three allied nations. Paraguay's force started retreating into their own territory. President Francisco Solano López, driven by his illusions, believed that Paraguay could achieve victory single-handedly, emulating his idol Napoleon. He was convinced of his military prowess and thought that he could secure triumph for his nations. Yet, his envisioned triumph never materialized. The only parallel with his idol Napoleon was his ultimate defeat, reminiscent of Waterloo. In 1869, Asunción, Paraguay's capital, was plundered and destroyed by Allied force. Following this, the remnants of Paraguay's army retreated to the northern region of the country. Even though Paraguayan force fought valiantly, their loyalty to Lopez remained steadfast. They employed guerrilla tactics, destroying their own villages and infrastructure to delay the progress of the Triple Alliance forces. Adding to the tragedy, a massive epidemic struck the region, affecting the surviving population of Paraguay and neighboring countries. The war concluded with the Brazilian army killing Lopez, ending his despotic rule, where he made countless disastrous decisions that nearly wiped his country off the map of the earth. The aftermath saw Paraguay losing a substantial portion of its land to the victorious nation. However, the gravest consequences were borne by the people, who suffered greatly due to the war's devastation. Paraguay's population, which was around 500,000 before the conflict, was reduced by nearly half. Over 90% of the male population, essential for the country's economic development, perished due to the war's impact. Homes were destroyed and agricultural land became unusable. The Paraguay War serves as a costly lesson in history, demonstrating the importance of choosing leaders who can guide a nation towards prosperity or its doom, just like Paraguay in this case. Nevertheless, it is fortunate that present-day Paraguay did not crumble like the ominous words of the dictator Francisco Solano López had foretold. In conclusion, the Paraguayan War is a stark reminder of the significance of leadership in shaping a nation's destiny, often with life or death consequences. As we learn from the lessons of the Paraguayan War, the saying, "When the wicked rule, the people groan," may hold true, resonating with the consequences of the conflict. And with that, we conclude the first episode of the History Boy podcast. Thank you to all our viewers for tuning in, and this is the Paraguay War, the Paraguay Armageddon.